Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issues. Every single Botswana knows the excitement that Goya Koshong can bring about, especially the youngest among us. And this is because, as the slogan for the Botswana Consumer Fair aptly reminds us, the event has truly become about more than just shopping. With the 2017 Consumer Fair scheduled to begin next week, how far are the preparations for this growing national event? How are exhibitors advised to ensure that they get the best return on their investment? And how much thought has been put into setting objectives, booth staffing, sales pitches, and so on? To give us an idea of how far along preparations for the 2017 Botswana Consumer Fair are is the CEO of Fairground Holdings, Myra Sekgororwane.
We are very advanced at this stage. It's a huge event. As a result, we would have started last year already. Straight after the previous one in 2016, that's when we start preparing for this one. The magnitude actually demands that we need all that time to be looking and preparing and planning to ensure that everything is ready on time.
What kind of aspects are we talking about when we speak of the magnitude? What kind of things would you have been looking at over the past year?
Perhaps let me start with a professional survey that we do. At the moment, we don't do it annually, but every 2 years. So last year, we outsourced and did a professional survey which looked at the during the show as well as the post. And this survey was incorporating people who visited, the public, exhibitors themselves, stakeholders who assist us because we can't do it on our own, as well as the management and leadership of it. And from that survey, with conclusions and recommendations, that's where it really becomes the basis of how we can improve or add or subtract from the next exhibition going forward. And it's important that we do that much earlier so that people are informed in advance as to what's going to be changing. So we very much look into our own customers telling us what works, what doesn't work, or what could be improved. Last year's survey was very good, very informative. So much that it has added a lot of value add onto extra and improved additional entertainment and eating areas, that kind of thing that are coming up in 27.
But it is more than about family fun and entertainment and companies marketing themselves. What value and contribution would you say the Consumer Fair has had to Botswana's economy in its years of existence?
There definitely has been a lot of impact to the economy through the Consumer Fair, not just financially in terms of what Fairground Holdings itself derives from the fair or what the exhibitors, obviously it's very important for us that the exhibitors themselves derive, and theirs is different. It may not necessarily be immediate benefits. They need to be looking into the future. They've made contact, future sales, networking with others, and that type of thing. That's all value add. But I believe that there's a lot more impact areas than just the financial to Fairground Holdings. For instance, the fair is so big that we extend our services in terms of security, cleaning companies, food suppliers, you name it, tenfold during the fair, and we just outsource. So there is a lot of benefit, especially to small, medium-scale companies during that time of that income that they wouldn't have otherwise.
To get more from life, we need all the help we can get. Like getting a 105% home loan to cover costs like legal fees and deposits. And 55 days interest-free credit when swiping your credit card. and paying 0% deposit to drive the car you want, and helping save for those big things for your family. And earning real rewards for just doing your everyday banking. Isn't it time you got more from life with gold? Switch to FNB today. FNB, how can we help you?
Welcome back to First Issues as we continue to speak to the CEO of Fairground Holdings, Myra, who continues to tell us everything that has gone into the 2017 Botswana Consumer Fair. With a week or so to go, preparations, I'm sure, are coming to a close on your end, but exhibitors are probably putting together their exhibitions and everything else. What advice would you have for them to make the most out of exhibiting at the Consumer Fair?
Yes, we would have had at least one major meeting with exhibitors directly, over and above, do's and don'ts and at booking time, information that goes out to them that guides us to how the fair is conducted. We also have had a big meeting where they come together and we actually now also give them tips, give them observations as to how they can best sell themselves, display themselves, ensure they get maximum benefit out of the show. Issues such as please come prepared, whether it's your business cards, whether it's your brochures that you want to give out, whether it's making sure your website is active and it's got the information that's required, but also even issues such as ensure you have enough manpower so that your stall is manned at all times. It's nothing like going into a stall, it's there and there's nobody to talk to. And also the other advice that we've given them is that use this as a platform where you can also interact with other exhibitors from nationally as well as internationally, because we've got quite a few international companies coming through. And there is a very, very beneficial value that can be derived from interacting with others. You produce a product, but maybe somebody else produces a product that can complement. Maybe if I were to use an example, you produce a canvas bag, which is very nice, but you don't engrave. But next door to you or within the same show is someone who actually engraves. And then you've got a client coming to the show also who's looking for an engraved bag. They should really be going into that. Quite often without these shows, even us in the country, we don't always know who's producing what. So that's another advantage. We need to know, even amongst the producers themselves, this is produced in Botswana, no, it's not produced, and there's new products coming in all the time. So interaction, networking, making sure that the stall is professional, is manned, it's got all the information, those really are the emphasis that we advise the exhibitors on.
In your years of experience, which stalls would you say do better than others? Have you got some tips with regards to that?
I have seen that stalls with new innovative ideas, like, whoa, we didn't realize this is, where are you from, where are you based type of thing. I see them attracting a lot more people. Obviously people are curious. So it goes back to innovation, what's new on the market. Stalls that also independently sometimes prior, they don't just depend on Fairground Holdings to advertise that they're going to be at the show. So you get exhibitors who on their own also proactively through media say we are going to be on the show. Obviously we do a lot of advertising, but it can never be enough. I see those also having firm appointments coming through because they know that you know, you're going to be at the show stall such and such. The educational and awareness areas actually also attract a lot of people because we've got different segments. You know, we get students, some of them coming as groups formally and so forth, so they're taken around, so there would be of interest maybe to schools and the teachers and so forth. But entertainment at the end of the day also, they want to feel that we've gone through all that and therefore give us half an hour of what's there outside.
And for those coming to the show, as we speak of breathers in between all there is to see, what advice would you give to them to get the most out of their visit to the 2017 Consumer Fair?
Is to buy tickets early. Although we've got a very big plot with a lot of gates. I mean, there are gates to the east, to the south, where you can form queues and so forth from, we open 9 o'clock in the morning until 6 in the evening. There's express gates where you can come in and it's much quicker. We are open during the week. The last 2 days are Saturday and Sunday. So we can touch on the school, the students over the weekend, the families and so on and so forth. The best thing, I can't say coming in the morning or in the afternoon is the best time. The best time is any time during that time, but give yourself time. Give yourself time so that you derive the most out of the show. Because once you've paid, you bought your ticket to come in, you're free to go around the whole show. Yes, there will be entertainment, sports, and events where you have to pay individually, but you'd have got a feel of what's available rather than just popping in and then popping out again. So, and the ticket is for the day. So why not plan to spend most of that day and get the best value for money out of your ticket?
What are your expectations for this year's installment of the event?
I'm expecting, and indications also are that we'll have more exhibitors than last year. We're going to have more international exhibitors as well, because we look at those markets separately as well. We want to become a regional player, so the more international we have, the better. We're going to have more public coming through, more audiences coming through. We've advertised well in advance. We've taken communication areas that we didn't utilize last year, so we're reaching more and more people. Our sales and marketing team has been around the country. We didn't do that last year. At shopping malls on the weekends, Hansi, Francistown, to actually sell the show well in advance. Because we do appeal to people who actually come to Gaborone for the show. So we're expecting a lot more people to actually visit the show. Added to that, we've got additional entertainment events that will be taking up. So that's going to add to the attractions compared to last year.
To get more from life, we need all the help we can get. Like getting a 105% home loan to cover costs like legal fees and deposits. And 55 days interest-free credit when swiping your credit card. And paying 0% deposit to drive the car you want. And helping save for those big things for your family. And earning real rewards for just doing your everyday banking. Isn't it time you got more from life with gold? Switch to FNB today. FNB, how can we help you?
Welcome back to First Issues. We have great aspirations for our country, to see our towns and cities not only grow in stature but in beauty, to see industries sprout and thrive, and at the end of it all, see our quality of life improve. For that to happen, waste management needs to become as popular a topic of discussion as others have in our pursuit of this objective. A clean and efficient town or city does not only benefit its dwellers, but will also encourage those from further afield to visit and enjoy the sights. 50 years ago, Botswana did not have much to speak of, and now over half of us live in urban developments. This rapid urbanization means that those within waste management must work to stay ahead of the curve, and that individual caretakers of property need to stay abreast of the rules that ensure that our communities remain clean. But how well do you know said rules? We're no longer allowed to stoke up bonfires in residential areas to get rid of leaves and other debris from our gardens. And yet you're not allowed to put them in your trash, as your garbage collector is sure to inform you if you try. And don't even try to put waste from your pets in there either. Your trash may not get collected. You'll also hear that nappies, fluorescent lights and cell phone batteries are also not meant to go in the bin. So what exactly is allowed in your dustbin and what is not? And what are we meant to do with what the council won't take? To clear up the confusion is Mpho Mathe at the Gaborone City Council.
Probably starting Kayone, the garden waste. Garden waste, we don't quite allow it to be put in the bin. Our expectation is that if you've got garden waste, you make a separate arrangement for it, because our role by law is to collect household waste, kitchening and everywhere else around the house, but not garden waste and rubble. Rubble and garden waste, you make a separate arrangement for disposal of that. But probably not, for me with the garden waste, I'll probably suggest that people should actually start appreciating that it's a resource. The same garden that you are taking the waste from needs the same nutrients, as that it's time that we should be encouraging people to be using that as compost, so that after a few years they can rejuvenate the soil back to its original state, so that the very same garden remains as green as it should be. Rubble during construction and other, it has to be dealt with separately. The companies that normally here in council who are using the small mini trucks to transport both rubble and garden waste, and normally they know where to dispose it of appropriately. So it's an arrangement that you make with the private sector, because I know there are a lot of companies in the private sector. In fact, I know of neighborhoods where normally you have somebody coming around to ask for don't you have garden waste that you can take for you for disposal? And likewise with rubble, it's something that as part of the construction process, there's a requirement that you should be indicating that what is it that you're going to be doing with rubble. And of course, challenge with rubble is that we don't have many places where you can dispose it off. Normally we dispose it off as part of rehabilitating some of the old barrow pits. Currently, the one that we have permission to use, we have asked the Village Development Committee to allow us to dispose of rubble there as part of rehabilitating it, and of course as part of a structured way of disposing it from the city. So anybody who inquires about that, normally we direct them to the place that we have negotiated with Bakhatlen to assist us with. Of course, Gaborone, you know that there are very few spaces that are left that we can have such a facility. Other pieces of waste, particularly let's say waste that is considered toxic, that one requires a separate arrangement. Unfortunately, Botswana, as you might know, we don't have any cell in our facilities where we can dispose it off. So the normal route, particularly for larger institutions like ourselves, when we have the batteries, when we have the bulbs, we normally put them together with the view really dispose that we have with South Africa, where they have such facilities. The thing that you need to do that is a license from the Department of Waste Management and Pollution Control. Any license here, transportation. It's not the kind of thing that you can just transport without a license. It cuts across. Some are even more dangerous if you think about things like body X-ray. The kind of materials body X-raying from hospitals, that one is just toxic. So that's why Otoka a special license from the department for you to carry it through Botswana and through South Africa. We actually do have an agreement with them for us to transport to their facilities in South Africa. So as a country, not as Gaborone City Council, as a country. So that's how it is normally happens. Smaller things like body cartridges for printers and a few other things, normally there will be instructions. If you look carefully at your cell phone battery, it will indicate we rank. But the normal practice is to take it back to the supplier, or some of the other suppliers or market players may want it back so that they can actually go and dispose it appropriately. It is not ideal that they should be disposed modibini, nor should they be flushed. In fact, flushing them is even worse because it blocks the system. So in most cases, we prefer it to be put on the side. If you are to do this properly, it will be color coded by the plastic so that you know that this particular plastic carries this particular type of waste, so that when it gets to the site, we are able to tell Hornyaye doesn't go into the landfill, it goes into the incinerator. But as you might be aware, currently Harna system a system of separating waste at the household level. If you probably recall, I think a few months ago, I think that was in June, we had a launch go Gaborone Block 3. Really one of the initiatives that we are looking at as part of encouraging you as residents of the city to separate your waste such that something that is useful more toxic like diapers, more siamelang dispose the rest of the waste like diapers. Generally, diapers and other clinical waste, we treat them as clinical waste and we incinerate them. And of course, in a few other facilities around the country, I know that they do have incinerators, including hospitals. So that's how you deal with some of these matlakala a mo malapeng. Mehela bothata jo bo leng teng currently ke gona gore we are not very systematic in terms of separating at source.